Good morning. Welcome to the forecast discussion for Friday the 13th, 2013. That's a lot of 13s at 9:13 a.m. Wow, that's freaky. Okay. We have a very interesting forecast on the way here that is going to focus a lot on the storm for tomorrow on through Sunday morning. It's a very complicated forecast, easy forecast for the interior, easy forecast for the immediate coast, not so easy for the immediate Philadelphia and New York City metropolitan areas, as this forecast is getting very tricky by the hour. Currently, we have temperatures in the upper teens to lower 20s over the interior, mid 20s to lower 30s along the coast. Look for high temperatures in the upper 20s to lower 30s over the interior and lower to mid 30s along the coast as an Arctic cold front that is currently over northern and western New York and also northwestern Pennsylvania moves through the region today and pretty much blunts temperatures for the rest of the afternoon as cold Arctic air builds in. Not expecting much in the way of snow showers or anything of that nature. It's going to be pretty much a dry frontal passage. As you can see on the radar, the majority of the snowfall is associated with what we call lake effect snow. Over Oswego, New York, where I went to college, they're getting very heavy snowfall and pretty much on par for this time of year. Around Thanksgiving and thereafter, you get your lake effect snow and very heavy snowfall and snowfall amounts over a foot in some locations up here. For the Philadelphia and New York City metropolitan area, though, pretty much scattered cloud cover to overcast conditions as that Arctic cold front moves through. Can't rule out a flurry or two, but that's about it. So let's take a look at the infrared satellite picture. And there is our Arctic cold front. This is going to drop south today and keep our temperatures on the cold side in the lower to mid 30s as it moves through. And here's our brewing storm. Now let's take a look at the water vapor satellite picture to really set this all in motion here. The key to this forecast is not really this low pressure system, it's this high pressure system. And let me explain why. We're going to have an Arctic cold front move through, right? Well, with it, it will be an Arctic high pressure system. And as this high pressure system locks in over New England tonight into tomorrow, it's going to produce what's called cold air damming. Now, the question to the entire forecast for the Philadelphia and New York City metropolitan area is how entrenched will the cold air be and how much of a fight will the cold air put up basically tomorrow night. The longer the cold air lingers, the more snow and sleet and freezing rain will accumulate in the region. Now, I am 100% confident that the coastal areas, including the major cities, will change over to rain. The question is not if, the question is when. And that is a huge deciding factor in how much snow and ice will accumulate in the Philadelphia and New York City metropolitan area. So here is our strong subtropical disturbance. Get used to this. We're going to see this all winter long. These disturbances from the subtropical jet stream move over the southern plains, take moisture from the Pacific, moisture from the Gulf of Mexico, and start to run right into these Arctic air masses that continue to build into the eastern United States. So we have the layout of the overall forecast. Let's take a look at some model guidance. This is the NAM model guidance from about 1 a.m. And I'm using this as an example. I'm not saying this is going to happen 100%, but I want to show you what the threat is here. So here we are for tonight and to tomorrow. We have clouds increasing. Snow showers develop tomorrow morning. By tomorrow afternoon, we start to get steady snow developing throughout the region. Now, by tomorrow evening, here is the questionable time period from basically, say, 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. We have snow developing throughout the region. That snow changes over to rain over the coast. Over the interior, it's very cold, high snow ratios, snow is flying. Although it's going to be light, because of the high snow ratios, it will accumulate pretty easily and pretty steadily. The question is, as we move forward at about, the evening hours, you start to get moderate snowfall. Again, along the coast, it's pretty much a rain event. You might get a trace to maybe 2 inches at most. But notice the temperature gradient here over the Philadelphia metro to the New York City metropolitan area, right in this area here. You go basically from 34 degrees over eastern Monmouth County to 28 degrees over Mercer County and Middlesex County. That is a pretty strong thermal gradient. Basically, you have a 10-degree thermal gradient in these areas right here. And that creates a lot of what's called lifting. It's called what's called frontogenesis at the lower levels of the atmosphere. And that's a bit concerning because when you get this type of lifting pattern developing in these locations, you get the potential for very heavy precipitation in this corridor right here that sometimes the models don't always pick up. So it's something that you kind of have to look for signatures here to see what is the potential here during this time period. And I think that the highest volatility time period is basically between 7 p.m. and 10 p.m. on Saturday night, because this is where we're going to get very heavy precipitation. You have warming air. So, for example, the Philadelphia metro in this time period is probably going to go from snow to sleet and freezing rain with very cold temperatures, a very tight thermal gradient here. North and west of Philadelphia, periods of heavy snow, sleet, freezing rain. To the south and east of Philadelphia, most likely changing over to rain as the entire column here is above freezing. However, over central New Jersey, say Trenton, say central and western Monmouth County, up through the New York City metro, northeastern New Jersey, these areas are below freezing. You can see right here, here's our freezing line. And here's, let's say Newark is at, let's say about 28, and JFK is about 34. You take that thermal gradient and you look at 850 millibars, it's all below freezing in these locations. So at this time period, when you're getting very heavy precipitation, going up to about 0.75 to 1 inch of precipitation here in central New Jersey, for example, half an inch to 3/4 of an inch over the New York City metropolitan area, you're going to have a very complicated scenario where you're going to see snow, sleet, back to snow, go over to rain, back to snow again, as the battle sets up between very cold Arctic air and the warm air at the mid-levels and from the Atlantic. So you're going to have a very strong forcing mechanism over here over central New Jersey. And this is pretty much where our highest volatility is in this forecast, basically from Trenton to New York City up through Connecticut, southern Connecticut. That is where you're going to have a very impressive and tight snow gradient setup, where, for example, JFK ends up with a trace and LaGuardia ends up with 6 inches. It's going to be that tight of a gradient. So it's going to be a very difficult forecast in this time period tomorrow evening. Of course, I'll have live updates and go through this entire forecast through the entire period during this time period. Now, by the time we get to midnight and 1 a.m., the low pressure system's right off the New Jersey coast. You have warm air pushing in. I think the entire coastal plain, north and west of all the major cities, goes over to rain. It's going to be a little tricky again around the Philadelphia metropolitan area, but I think that based on the way that the low pressure system is set up and the way that the high pressure system starts to give way, of course the interior remains mostly snow or snow and sleet, but I think the coast goes over to rain, and as a result we limit the snowfall totals thereafter, and then the storm pulls out with cold air invading and possibly ending as a little bit of light snow at the end of this storm. If this was all snow, boy oh boy, the coast would be pummeled here. But we don't have the blocking necessary to keep that high pressure system in place and keep this coastal low tracking more towards the benchmark 40 north, 70 west in this scenario here. So that is the scenario that we're setting up here. Here's the forecast I have out. Again, the steady snow, I think, is between 1 to 3. It ends between 7 and 8 a.m. on Sunday morning. Worst conditions from 5 p.m. Saturday through 5 a.m. Sunday. In the purple areas, all snow, 5 to 10 inches in general. Some would get up to a foot, possibly around northwestern New Jersey or northeastern Pennsylvania, basically between right around Allentown, up towards Sussex County, New Jersey, and then into the Hudson River Valley. Hartford, watch out, 5 to 10 inches of snow, possibly up to a foot. A little bit further south and west towards York, Lancaster, just to the south of Reading, up through north central New Jersey and north and west of New York City and into central Connecticut. We're looking at 3 to 6 inches of snow, held down the snowfall accumulations just a bit because of sleet accumulation potential, up to 1/10 of an inch ice in these locations. In our light blue shade, this is where our volatility lines up, where we could get very strong mesoscale banding. The question is whether that's going to be heavy snow or heavy rain. That is going to be the nowcast in question for tomorrow evening. Looking at 2 to 4 inches of snow, locally up to 6 inches, rain by 1 a.m. Sunday. I think that's pretty much a given, as this low pressure system will sit right over basically Brick and Toms River, New Jersey by midnight on Sunday. So I think this whole area does change over to rain. The question really is in this area, when does it change over to rain? And then the green section, this again is an easy forecast. Snow to rain, a trace to 2 inches of snow, rain by 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. as that rain snow line works to the north and west. Again, this is a type of storm where you get a gradient where it's a trace of snow in JFK and up to 6 inches in LaGuardia. It's a type of storm where a trace of snow over Brick and over, let's say, portions of eastern Monmouth County and western Monmouth County, 6 inches of snow, very, very tight snow gradient. Same thing in the Philadelphia metro, south and east of the city, maybe a trace to 2 inches of snow. Over the city and to the west of the city, 6 inches of snow would be possible. You could see some significant ice buildup depending on the way that the atmosphere sets up here. So it's a very volatile forecast in this location right here. This is where you could get a major bust one way or the other with this type of storm because of this setup that we're seeing developing for this time period tomorrow evening. After this storm leaves, we all get a break and we could all use it, don't we? With high pressure, you're going to be generally in control over the region, basically providing very tranquil and very comfortable weather conditions thereafter. So I think that we could definitely use a break in the storm department here as the storm exits out into the region with high pressure and control through much of next week with chilly weather conditions. Looking basically at temperatures moderating slowly from the upper 20s to lower 30s for highs on Monday to Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, looking at temperatures in the upper 30s to mid 40s for highs, pretty much near normal for this time of year, and low temperatures in the upper 20s to lower 30s. So we call a moderating trend getting back to normal before another Arctic front drives through the region next weekend with periods of rain changing over to snow and our temperatures falling back to well below normal levels in the 20s for highs. It's going to be that type of winter, I think. It's going to be fun. That is your forecast discussion for today. Of course, I'm your meteorologist, Stephen DiMartino. I'm going to be providing live updates throughout the day and into the evening hours, starting this evening and continuing on through tomorrow and into Sunday morning. So stay tuned to NYNJPA Weather, or you can follow NYNJPA Weather on Twitter, Facebook, Google+, and LinkedIn as the storm develops. As always, stay safe out there.